I'm Steph Garcia-Sykos with D1 Ticker, and I am delighted to be joined by Valparaiso President José Padilla to discuss his open AD chair. Thank you so much for joining me, Jose.
Thank you, Steph, for inviting me, and I look forward to our conversation this afternoon.
Well, Valparaiso is about a year in to its new rebrand as the Beacons. Tell us a little bit about how that rebrand has been going. How has the community, alumni, and more importantly, the student athletes embraced the new brand identity?
I think they've been embracing it fairly well. There was some heartburn when you lose or discontinue with a brand like or mascot such as the Crusaders. But now I think most everybody has rallied around the Beacons because the Beacon symbolizes so much of what we are here at the university. There's a saying here at the university, in thy light, we see light. And the Beacon is an opportunity for us to light the way for our brothers and sisters, whether it be on the athletic field, in our chapel, in our community, for our country. So I think everybody has pretty much embraced it.
Well, what is the growth potential for the Beacon brand across the Missouri Valley Conference and across Division I in general?
I think there's so much potential because, first of all, we're playing in one of the best basketball and sports conferences in the nation. And it's so heartening when I watch a game on ESPN Plus and when the announcers are saying the Valpo Beacons or Beacon basketball or whatever that may be. And so that in combination with Valpo, because Valpo in itself is a national brand. When I was leaving the University of Colorado to become the president of Valpo, people knew where I was going because of the Homer Drew days. So I think there's so much potential for us to capitalize it and grow upon it.
Well, you are a well-known sports fan. You are frequently at events and engaging with the student athletes. How does athletics fit into your long-term vision for the growth of the university in general?
It is in part and parcel of our campus experience, whether it be from our players, our student athletes, or our students who are fans, or anybody else in our community who comes in and watches Valpo basketball, Valpo football, whatever the case may be. We're a small community here that is tied to each other in so many different ways beyond sports, but in an important way, sports as well. And I think sports kind of helps everybody here have a role or feel a role on this campus. For example, with our football program, it's non-scholarship, and we have about 100 student athletes on that team. We have 25 engineers this last year who are playing, and this is their opportunity to continue the dream, to play the sport they love, but not at such high levels where it would detract from their academics. Everything kind of fits hand in glove here with respect to student athletics.
Well, let's talk about specifics for this athletic director that you are trying to hire. In the job description, you would like a minimum of 10 years of experience in athletics. Are you looking to hire a sitting AD or someone who has held the chair, or are you open to giving maybe a younger candidate, a senior leader, their first opportunity to be an AD?
I am open to anyone who can basically understand the culture and the mission of this university. I think the key, though, is what you said before, experience. So even if they aren't the person running the shop, there's somebody who's had experience in a senior level of helping their AD run the department. I'm obviously open to sitting ADs. They bring a wealth of experience. But I just want to make sure that, most importantly, they understand the ethos of this great Lutheran university. We call ourselves a small yet mighty university that punches above its weight. And if they can understand the three pillars of this university, faith, wisdom, and growth, there'll be somebody at the very minimum can understand this university and then go from there.
What type of administrative background would best fit Valpo's needs right now? Are you looking for a fundraiser? Are you looking for someone who's got great experience with student athlete development? What would fit Valpo's needs right now?
Well, I'm looking for a person who kind of fits 6 different categories. One is that they do everything to give our student athletes the best possible positive experience they can get. Yes, winning is important because if we're going to go to this level, we want to be competitive. We don't want to be anyone's doormat. But by the same token, I want the student experience not to rise and fall solely on the win-loss record. It's such a positive experience of being a teammate and supporting each other. It's somebody who fosters that. The second thing is I want them to embrace the three-legged stool, the three pillars that I mentioned to you earlier. And then the other thing is that it has to be somebody who has high integrity, no shortcuts, no recruiting shortcuts. As a former general counsel, I know how important it is to comply with NCAA regulations, and I don't want any shortcuts there. I also want somebody who has no tolerance for mediocrity. Again, our job is to be competitive in the Missouri Valley Conference. I don't want to be anybody's doormat. So whenever we go out to the field, whether we win the game or lose the game, we lay everything out on that field. And so that whoever beats us, if they do beat us, they're going to remember the day they played the Beacons. I want somebody who's also unafraid of challenge, somebody who can outperform our resources. Let's be realistic. Like so many other small, private, tuition-dependent universities, resources are always an issue. And you talk about what type of person I'm looking for. I'd love to say generally, I'd love to have a number 2 or 3 from a Big Ten school like the University of Michigan. But in some respects, that may not be the best fit if that individual hasn't worked for a smaller Division I school where money just wasn't coming in and resources weren't coming in hand over fist. This is going to be a place for someone who is unafraid of challenge. This is not for the faint of heart. This is not for the faint of creativity or innovation. We're going to have to hustle and be scrappy. We have resources. We can always use more resources. And I'm going to be working hand in glove with that AD to make sure that we make the key investments to grow the program. But it's not going to be where money's just coming in hand over fist. We're going to have to work for it. But I'll be that partner to that AD to do that. And the other thing is somebody who's willing to be my wingman in supporting and promoting this great Lutheran university. In some respects, I may be the most visible individual in this community. The second most visible person may be the AD. And whether it's, helping me raise money for key investments like our athletic arena, or whether just to go out in the community and develop positive relationships, that's going to be something that's going to be very important for this new AD.
Well, clearly you are so passionate about Beacon Athletics. How much autonomy will this new AD have?
My philosophy is I'm not going to be a micromanager. I give all my executives a lot of rope. I hold them accountable, but I'm not going to be looking over their shoulder because I know that when I was a general counsel, I didn't want my boss looking over my shoulder. My board chair doesn't look over my shoulder, but they hold me accountable, and that's the kind of autonomy I'm going to give my new AD.
What are some key areas of growth for athletics? And what are some of the top priorities that you want this AD to tackle within their first 100 days?
Well, first of all, we're going to do everything we can to make sure he or she overlaps with our current AD, Mark LaBarbera, who's retiring after 17 great years of committed service to this university. Initially, I think it's important for any new person, any new executive, not to be a bull in a china shop, to take some time to understand the lay of the land, understand who his people are, his staff are, who his coaches are, and quietly observe. And then over time, he or she has the right to make whatever changes he or she may want to make. I give them the rope to do that because ultimately, again, I'm holding them accountable for not only wins or losses, but the GPA, the academic performance of our student athletes, and so many other things that are important to the overall experience. And I want them to have the autonomy to do that. And again, I'll hold them accountable to that.
Is it valuable at all that candidates come in having some experience either as a student athlete or maybe even as a coach?
Well, let me just say this. I would prefer somebody who was a D1 athlete because they would understand the pressures and the time commitments and the challenges incumbent in being a student athlete at a D1 program. However, having said that, obviously there's always exceptions to every rule. I think it also would be helpful if they were a coach at a D1 program. But again, there's always exceptions to every rule. I just want somebody who understands the challenges today of outrunning a D1 program, whether it's NCAA compliance, whether it's name, likeness, and regulations and laws. Everything has evolved so much anymore. It's important to have somebody who not only has that athletic background, but also somebody who's a good business person, a good manager, a good ambassador for our program. That's a lot to ask of somebody, but welcome to my world. That's kind of what you have to expect from a president.
I think the perfect candidate is certainly out there. Well, President Padilla, last big question for you. March Madness is kicking off, and obviously Valpo has a strong history with that tournament. How much of a priority is it for you that we get basketball back to the level of success it's had in the past?
It is a large priority for me because, first of all, I know what we're capable of doing. Look at what St. Peter's did to Kentucky. Okay, so as I said, we punch above our weight, and we can continue to do that. We're going to have to do a better job of it. I give all the credit in the world to Coach Loddick and what he's done, but bottom line is we have to live up to our legacy. And to do that, we're going to have to be much more competitive on the basketball floor. So it's very important to me. We're not going to do it at all costs, of course. But again, I want us to be in a situation where they'll suffer if they ever take us for granted on the basketball floor, the football field, the track and field, the baseball diamond.
Well, President Padilla, you are such a great ambassador for Beacon Athletics. I am confident that you're going to have some exciting candidates. We really look forward to following along with this search. So thank you so much for joining us and giving us some additional insight.
Steph, thank you so much. And it's always good to be interviewed by a Latina.